Hey everybody, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the new comedy The Hangover, Part 2, from Todd Phillips, director of Old School, and coincidentally, the director of The Hangover.
Huh.
And Woody Allen's new flick, Midnight in Paris, and Attack of the Block from producer Edgar Wright. And then we're going to do Picks of the Week.
Yep, that's the show.
And man, I should say I didn't see Attack of the Block, so that one's in John's court.
Well, yeah, it was a sneak preview they had for online press to try to generate some buzz. As far as I know, they didn't even have a date it's going to open around here yet.
I figured it was a month off.
I don't know. I kept asking. They just said, it doesn't matter. Blog about it. So we did. It was fun too.
What's the premise? It's like some alien attack on some...
it's like a housing tenement in London, South London, and there's like a gang of kids. They're supposed to be like tough kids, but you learn as the movie goes on they're not as tough as they think. And these aliens fall out of the sky, and the first one that falls, they attack the alien and kill it, and they carry it around like a trophy. And then hundreds of other aliens land looking for the one that they killed. So it's kind of action adventure. It's kind of it's a mix of horror and comedy, starring Nick Frost.
Yay!
Well, not starring. He's in it.
Yeah, he's supporting.
He plays a stoner who lives in the house.
But I think as far as American audiences are concerned, he's the touchstone.
Right. And speaking of which, American audiences will have trouble with the dialogue. It's South London street slang. It takes a long time to get used to the way these kids talk. They talk like London rappers. It's really strange. Once you get into the rhythm of it, I think it's a lot of fun. So we'll definitely be reviewing it when it comes around.
Cool. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Have been for a few months, as there's been online buzz and whatnot. But we'll see it soon, and we'll definitely talk about it soon.
Yeah.
And so what we've got is The Hangover,
Part 2. Yeah.
And I think I enjoyed this more than you did.
Yep.
Even though it takes every dramatic, not dramatic moment, but it's a movie that's built in the framework or on the framework of the first film. Basically, the main key points are just all rehashed again.
I had the feeling like they'd had one of those search and replace programs on their computer. Took the first script and said, okay, take out tiger and put in monkey. Take out yanks his tooth out to face tattoo. Right. Take out this, take out that. And then they just play it again. Take out roofies and put in drug marshmallows.
Yep.
So
it's kind of lazy screenwriting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a money-making cash cow, but at the same time, it seems like they didn't do anything ingenious here.
Well, yeah, I liked the first one so much because it was so twisted. The fact that they wake up in a hotel room and there's a tiger there and they have no idea how the tiger got there or how his tooth is missing, and then they have to build a case. Okay, fine.
And you can relate to that. I mean, we've all woken up trucked somewhere
with a tiger.
Yeah, not to this extreme, not to this extent, but here they've taken Las Vegas and replaced it with Thailand, Bangkok.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of us can relate to waking up in some drug den in Bangkok.
Yeah.
But
and live to talk about it.
Yeah. So.
And the thing is, it's still the same group. It's Bradley Cooper and
Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah. And Ed Harris. Is it Ed Harris?
Ed Helms.
Ed Helms. Ed Harris.
We were just talking about Rebecca Harris. Or Barbara Harris. Barbara Harris.
Yeah.
Who's in a film that we'll talk about.
But, they're pretty much the same characters. They get through the same kind of things. But watching the second one, I got the feeling that only Zach Galifianakis remembered it was a comedy.
And he played his character I get the feeling that only he can deliver these lines that way and make them funny, and he's just really good at that. So, Alan is a highlight in this film. Absolutely.
He is if you like Alan. If you like Galifianakis. I don't like Galifianakis. I don't think he's funny.
Oh, then you got a problem there.
Yeah, it's a big problem. It's a big problem because especially I remember seeing it with the audience, and the guy, whatever he said got a huge laugh. Even if it wasn't funny, it still got a huge laugh.
I've got a story there.
Okay.
I was sitting next to these two college kids that basically any utterance from Zach Galifianakis or Ed Helms or Bradley Cooper resulted in cackles that were just insane. It was like the idea that they were supposed to be funny was just, locked into these guys' minds. They couldn't lose.
Yeah,
they were experiencing glee that was out of sorts with what was on the screen, and then many people in the theater were doing. They just built it up in their heads. I got so annoyed with these kids halfway, and they were to me they're kids. 20, 21, something like that. That you know how you kind of you give that like annoyed look to your left.
I know it well. I know
the annoyed exhale. Halfway through the film, they up and left and took a couple of empty seats down front. They didn't. They knew that I was like. Well, we sit in the press section, and they had split that row.
Right. So half not press.
Yeah, half press, half. And so they just up and left.
They left, or you left?
I was getting so freaking annoyed by just the talking, the yelling back at the screen, the loud laughing at stuff that just wasn't that funny.
Yeah.
It was amusing. I mean, I think it's an amusing film. It's not laugh out loud, insane funny.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a big problem. And then I swear the whole thing is it's just lazy. They made so much money. I'm sure they got a ton of money to make this to make the sequel. And then here's what I call lazy filmmaking. There's a scene where when they're tracing their steps to find out what they did in their blackout.
Yeah, we should probably set that up. So instead of Las Vegas, as I said earlier, Ed Helms, his character Stu, is getting married in Thailand. So there's a moment towards the beginning of the film where they're like, I don't know, we can't afford this. It's going to be a couple thousand, just in airfare to get us back and forth. And then there was Alan, who has this grand idea of what the wolf pack is, and his memory of what we know as the Hangover on what was just a couple days in his life. It turns out to be like the greatest moment of his life. So he keeps reliving it. We get to see Alan's bedroom at the house where he's taken photos from the camera and had them blown up into poster-sized frames.
Yeah, all those photos they showed at the end of the Hangover, which is a great idea at the time. During the credits, they would show these photos of Stu yanking out.
Yeah, and I thought that was the stupidest idea to delete them.
Delete them.
We're going to look at them once and then delete them. Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah.
I guess they didn't want any incriminating evidence or something
right,
like
but
that.
For the audience, it was fun to kind of fill in all those gaps from the first movie.
Yeah, it is funny.
But to see them all, they're all blown up, like I said, poster size on his wall.
So the first 10 minutes of the movie is about will they or will they not invite Alan to be part of the wedding contingent, and so they relent because he was very.
They had to. He was in the poster.
Yeah. Right. So they go to the wedding, a couple thousand miles away. Stu's future father-in-law, hates him, and Stu is subject to a humiliating pre-wedding speech at the rehearsal dinner. But he's also introduced to his wife's younger brother, who is a college student, really upright guy, super smart. They decide to have, after the reception, a guy's drinking night on the beach, which is basically we'll just go down to the beach, have a beer,
toast some marshmallows.
Guy camaraderie, toast some marshmallows. Next thing you know, they are waking up in some unknown apartment in a very seedy part of Bangkok with Ed Helms in the bathtub and God, I don't know where the other guys are, but the kid is missing. I forget the kid's name. Teddy, her younger brother, is missing, and there's like a finger in a cereal bowl or something like that, and it's Teddy's finger. So what they don't have is her younger brother to get him to the wedding tomorrow, but they have his finger.
Yeah.
And they also have Ken Jeong from the first film, who, as it turns out, was still in touch with Alan.
Right, they're best friends now.
Yeah, because he was just so entranced by the whole experience and what happened that he actually was communicating with Alan, with God, what's the guy's name?
Mr. Han, Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Chow.
Mr. Chow.
So, much to Stu and Phil's surprise, they couldn't believe that he was, communicating with an ex-con. But anyway, there they all are in Bangkok, and waking up, not knowing what happened, and
so the mystery is
again.
They have to find the boy and get him to the wedding, even though now he's all they have is his finger. They have to find him, get back to the wedding, and
Yeah, and Chow's there to make a big drug deal.
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, but,
and then Paul Giamatti gets involved.
Yeah,
As the super druggy guy.
I'm glad he gets a paycheck. You know, he doesn't.
He's good as a he's an amusing guy, but he can do bad guy.
Oh yeah. He's, like I said, he's fun. But this is what I mean by lazy filmmaking. Okay, so they go to Bangkok, and one of the things they unraveled as they piece together their debauchery is that Ed Helms, all the guys went into a bar, and in the first movie Ed Helms had sex with and married a hooker. This time he has sex with a
transvestite.
No, transsexual.
Transsexual, yeah.
It's and the whole punchline is that they show a penis, and it's like, you know, this is the level of inventiveness here. There's a guy, girl, a he, she, whatever, with giant boobs and a penis, and this person is so fucking ugly. You don't ever think it's a woman, but when he drops a towel, there's a penis, and they just keep showing the penis like that's the punchline. And to me, that's just lazy. Dick's not that funny.
There's 3 jokes in the film that involve dicks.
Yeah.
And one of them is pretty good. But the first one with the monkey in the that is just disgusting.
Yeah.
Downright disgusting. But the one with the water bottle and Alan in the taxi.
What about
you know, when a monkey nibbles on a dick, it's always funny in any language.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a setup line.
I guess.
It's in the trailer. It's not a spoiler.
They don't have much else to do there. You know? Yeah, I just watched this movie. I didn't laugh. You know? And I just think that the tone is so weird for a comedy. Again, Galifianakis is trying to be funny.
It's actually darker than the first one.
Yeah.
But,
you know, the surprise is gone because it's the same plot point.
I don't hate this movie. You know, I'll watch it again as it's kind of built for repeat watching. You know, but you know, I like watching the first one. You know, it's funny. And Zach Galifianakis is just funny. The way he delivers his lines, the fact that he doesn't relate to what's happened, you know, to the other guys. I mean, Ed Helms has been, you know, tattooed in the face and beat on, and you know, he's got pig blood all over him, and Phil's got a scraping or possibly potentially a bullet in his shoulder.
Yeah.
And all Alan can think of is like, first the ice cream is taken away, and then the monkey. I am at my wit's end.
See, again, I think it's just an acquired taste that I haven't acquired for Galifianakis. I just don't, and almost every movie I've seen him in, he just kind of doesn't make me laugh.
Oh, we differ on that.
Yeah.
I think he's very,
fine.
very quietly funny.
I think he's interesting when he's as a dramatic actor when he is dramatic in films, but his humor always is too forced to me. It's just too.
I'm trying to recall, when did he do a dramatic?
Well,
he had that TV series where he played the with Elijah Dushku when he was the like the mortician or the doctor's office guy. I can't remember. No, it was a Fox series about you know, she could go back in time for like a day to try and save somebody's life.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Like calling, I forget. Anyway,
I'm trying to think of the name. There was a movie. It didn't do very well. It was out. It took place in a mental hospital.
Oh, it was out last September. A Canadian film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember saying you like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember the title.
And it was Galifianakis being serious, somewhat serious. I mean, he's one of those things with comedy, with a comedian like that, they're never going to let him be completely serious.
Yeah.
You know, but he had some good interaction. He played a guy that was stuck in he was an inpatient at a mental institution, but he was there voluntarily.
Right.
And
right. I can see the movie.
Yeah, we'll find it in a sec. Hang on, readers.
You know, I would say that The Hangover Part 2 is like it's a mediocre entry on the resume of Todd Phillips. You know, Hangover, I thought it was great. Old School, great. I mean, he's got a couple of great films, but after the success of The Hangover, I mean, the guy probably will never have to work again.
Or work very hard, as we've seen.
But he's made some total crap. You know, School for Scoundrels.
It's kind of a funny story.
Yes.
That was the one that I was talking about. Anyway,
Starsky and Hutch, I thought was a total cheeseburger movie. I think it's fun, but it's not. It's not a great movie. It's just, kind of blah. Then he did, I think, late last year, August, September, he did Due Date with Robert Downey Jr. and Galifianakis, which is actually, I think, a funnier movie than Hangover Part 2. Mm-hmm. But then again, you have to like Zach Galifianakis. And this is all from the guy who did Road Trip, which I didn't think was a great film, but, whatever.
No.
But he's made a couple of documentaries, if I recall. He did the fish documentary, Bittersweet Motel. So he's initially in his early documentary stuff, he was very music connected, and music has always played an important part in Todd Phillips' films. He's and in The Hangover too. There's a certain type of music aesthetic, which is like the nightclub rap type of stuff. So Hangover Part 2 is also sort of a in that vein of rap driving music. But a lot of the music, I think, is chosen by. It feels like it's just chosen by a music supervisor who's just trying to
build a soundtrack.
Build the emotional momentum of whatever's happening. Like this is set, we'll bring this down. Here we are, we're going to bring this up, so we'll play some heavy rap pop or something like that.
And there's an odd choice of a Billy Joel song.
I did not get that. I think that was mostly for just the feeling of the moment, or the wedding, or something
about
like that.
Alan's character or something. But
I think the Billy Joel song came in when they were the morning of the wedding, towards the beginning, or morning of the reception. Mm-hmm. I think when you're being. I just don't think of using a Billy Joel song to introduce you to Thailand.
Right, and it's not an upbeat Billy Joel song. I forget which one it is. It's about that one about fishing off Long Island. It's like this long brooding piece that has no place in that movie.
But I think my guess is that that is a choice that pertains to the type of person that they believe are watching the film. I mean, because this is made for like
the guy sitting next to you.
Yeah, like rowdy, frat type.
But did today's rowdy frat types listen to Billy Joel?
God, I don't know. It just seemed like group party music or something like that.
Yeah,
you're supposed to.
There were a lot of things in this movie felt like they were done by committee. Like here's how we cash in. We've got the biggest. Is it the biggest comedy of all time? Something like that.
It probably absolutely the biggest R-rated comedy of all time.
So now, how do we cash in on that? So we do these things. Hey, people lagged last time. We'll do this. People do. Again, lazy. Just lazy.
Yeah, that's pretty much the thing. And then Mike Tyson finds his way back in.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's so out of sorts that it is the most obvious element of just taking points from the first film and inserting them into this.
And weren't there all sorts of rumors about other people who were going to make cameos?
I think Bill Clinton. Yeah, Mel Gibson. I think was supposed to play the tattoo artist at the beginning.
Yeah.
And the guy who gave Stu his tattoo, and then they try and get more. Basically, the tattoo artist is playing the part of the guy who was the physician in the first film.
Right.
Remember
right. Right.
So,
again, it's the same thing. You change it a little bit, you tweak it a little bit.
Yeah. And then the nightclub owner is basically the guy who was the wedding chapel owner in the first one. The somewhat seedy and hey, you guys are crazy motherfuckers. They just.
Did you recently see the original, or do you just remember it that well?
I just remember it. I've seen it like 5 times.
Wow.
It's a funny film,
All right.
And they even rehashed the song that Stu sings on the piano.
With the one
Halle Berry in her Catwoman suit. That song. Yeah, he basically
when he does.
They try to do the same thing on the boat with the guitar. Just not an inventive film.
No.
Perhaps they thought Bangkok was an inventive choice.
Maybe they just had the budget.
Let me just ask you: was there anything that you liked about the film that you thought was amusing, funny?
No, not really.
Not Zach Galifianakis or Alan's knowledge of Bangkok.
No,
his trivial pursuits.
No, it just felt too strained, too. Again, the thing I liked about the original, I didn't think it was a great comedy, but I thought it was so wacky and inventive. Just the fact that when they wake up and there's a tiger, and there's a chicken, there's all these things happening, and the way they pieced it together. But again, to do the same thing again was just boring to me because it's pretty much the same thing again. With a few
drug dealing monkey.
So instead of what they have in the first one, it wasn't a monkey, it was a tiger.
Yeah.
You know, the tiger was owned by Mike Tyson, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's just monkeys.
The monkey is just some
Monkeys smoking a CGI
Russian CGI cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell it. I thought it was a trained monkey.
You know how I know
cigarette.
that? Ed Simkus, who's been on the show before, did the junket for Hangover 2 and interviewed the monkey and the trainer. So Ed did high five the monkey and whatever.
It's just such an obvious play for laughs. The monkey, and it's funny. I can't help but. Okay.
I guess it was just too obvious to me. It just wasn't, maybe I wasn't there for me.
No, I totally get what you're saying. But this movie is going to make hand over fist
money. It made $10 million at the midnight shows on Thursday.
Yeah.
$10 million.
What about this? Bradley Cooper. Did this guy just get lucky? Being in such a huge, comedy?
Yes.
Is he? You think so? I mean, I think he's a good straight man.
I liked him in the one he did with De Niro.
Limitless. Yeah, that's actually a great film.
Which is coming out in a couple weeks on DVD. I liked him in that. I've seen him in other things.
A sample of the chocolate chip cookies?
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Anyone who's bringing us cookies it's a big deal for us. Thank you.
We just got a couple of chocolate chip cookies. Hot off the plate, sorry.
It's not from the studio. They're not trying to bribe us into a good review.
Oh, I should say, we're recording at Panera, so apologies for any of the background noise.
And for talking with a mouthful of cookie.
Right.
Yeah, I think Bradley Cooper's got some potential. I think he's been in some awful films. All About Steve, which was horrible.
I'll always think of him as the guy from Wet Hot American Summer. You're like nodding your head. You're,
No,
Wet Hot American Summer.
No, I remember not liking that when I saw it, but it's on my Netflix queue. It's a Netflix queue to watch and try to reevaluate.
It's worth reevaluation. Loved it. It suffered the death at the box office because of, I think, it came out in late September of 2001.
Uh-huh.
I saw it September 9th, 2001. Saw it twice that weekend, actually. Great film, but a lot of stuff.
It's going to be a midnight screening at the Coolidge pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
So.
Cool, yeah, I was hoping they would do that.
All right, I don't think we can say any more about The Hangover 2. Well,
I would recommend it, though. Yeah. It's not a great film. It's amusing. Everybody's probably going to be talking about it, though.
Until the next big summer movie opens.
They've got these guys set in for a third one. It's just totally set for that.
Hope they don't.
John, don't get too excited.
I'm not. Unless they come up with a better idea, then these guys get blacked out and have to
the way you're rolling your eyes, it's just like we can do
hear that?
Just eye rolling.
Right.
But there is a film here that we can get excited about.
Yep.
Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
I'm
not going to go anywhere near any of this like Woody's back crap or something like that.
Right.
This is just a fun film.
Right.
Entertaining.
It's a sweet romantic comedy.
Thank you, John.
It's funny, although sometimes you feel like you need cliff notes to get all the references, unless you're somehow familiar with Paris in the 20s and Hemingway and Fitzgerald and all these other characters who pop up.
Dali.
It stars Owen Wilson as he's a Hollywood screenwriter.
Yeah, a disillusioned screenwriter.
Right, who's trying to write a novel. And he's in Paris with his fiancée and his future in-laws. And he pretends he just wants to sit in the hotel and write about his novel, but he ends up walking around Paris at night. And after midnight, a car pulls up, and it's... who does he meet first? He meets Hemingway first. He somehow gets transported from present day to 1920s Paris.
Strangely, this car that shows up at midnight while he's walking the streets puts him into some sort of time travel situation. And when he gets out of the car, he's at a bar where he meets Hemingway and
Fitzgerald,
Zelda Fitzgerald, and Cole Porter and F. Scott Fitzgerald, and he's just blown away by they've sort of set it up like he was he knows his literary stuff. I mean,
he sees that time in Paris as the golden age of literature. All these people were in Paris and doing these great things. This is when Hemingway has just put out his first book.
Yeah, he's very well read, and he draws inspiration from the things that they were saying, and then he's actually meeting the people. So it's like, is this a dream he's having?
And they were interested in his writing. They accept him as a writer right away. They want to see his book. They want to, talk to him about writing, and this is heaven to him.
That scene with Ernest Hemingway giving him advice as to how to be a writer, but you can never be as good a writer as me as long as I'm alive. And being a great writer is like you have to put on your boxing gloves and fight. It was terrific. I just love the character, the characterizations here. God, what's his name? Dali, the guy, Adrian Brody.
Yeah.
Hysterical.
Dali.
Hysterical. Yeah. But some people don't really talk about this with it. Is that Woody Allen just makes you feel good about being, the intellectual pursuits. And the movie just has that kind of a feel. It's just like it's a very smart film. The characters that are brought to life in the time travel things. Alison Pill is Elda Fitzgerald, terrific. Kathy Bates played Gertrude Stein,
right.
Which is sort of the grandmother of all the, or not the grandmother, but the. She knows all the artists.
Right, right. They all come to. She held a salon in her house where people would come. Picasso would come and talk about his new painting, and Hemingway would give her a book to read first, and she would give him advice and this kind of thing.
Matisse and Gauguin, and she's like just such a huge source of inspiration to him. But in the real world, he can't convince anybody that this is actually happening. They just think he's all going,
Right.
But Owen Wilson, they just think he's going nuts, especially his father-in-law.
But then he also, while he's in 1920s Paris, he meets a young model, Marion
Cotillard.
Yes, and she's part of the Hemingway and crowd, but she has her golden age of Paris was Belle Epoque, the time of Toulouse-Lautrec.
Right, even earlier, Adriana is her name.
Right, and so one night they get to go back to what she considers the golden time, and so she's at the Folie Bergère with Toulouse-Lautrec and watching people dance the can-can, and it's gaslights, and it's just, this is her romantic period, and she eventually decides she wants to stay there. This is what she considers perfect, not what and she's from the time that Owen Wilson's character thinks is perfect.
Right, so it's all relative.
Yeah, well, that's what I liked about it. Is that yes, it's amusing, it's lovely, it's beautifully shot, it's romantic and sweet. But then there's this bittersweetness about the movie that you always have this fantasy that another time was better. Movies in the 70s were better than they are now.
So maybe it's like about presence. It's about like there's Michael Sheen at the beginning of the film plays sort of an antagonist to Owen Wilson. And they get into these verbal sparring matches while taking a tour of Versailles.
Right.
And it's really amusing in the sense that Owen Wilson, I think, is a really good Woody Allen substitute.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good. He's likable, and he's got the sort of little nuanceical things that Woody does.
Right, but he's not trying. You don't get the sense he's trying to imitate.
You're entertained by him. You're not sort of annoyed by him like Kenneth Branagh in Celebrity, or Will Ferrell in Melinda. Here, Owen Wilson is terrific in doing that, and. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's about presence. It's like in the time you're living in, where you're drawing where's the artistic center, where you're drawing your inspiration from, and he goes back to another time that he thinks would have been more creatively inspiring.
Right.
And she has another time that's more creatively inspiring, and but it's all about like a search for happiness in a way.
Yeah.
Heavy things happen in the film, but it's all sort of done in a lighthearted way and amusing.
Yeah, and the whole idea that that Wilson is just he realizes he can't escape to whatever past he's imagined happens in Paris after midnight, and he ends up making decisions in his life based on the fact that he knows he gets control of his life more. He decides that he doesn't want to be married. The whole plan, the whole conveyor belt of marriage and success he was on isn't for him. He'd rather be poor and living in a garret or an attic in Paris than making
so
money.
He'd rather. I think he has. In my mind, I saw him as like the Gene Kelly type. An American in Paris. He wants to be the guy that's just living in a small apartment, being an artist and being happy, as opposed to going back to America and having the wife and kids
and having to write crappy screenplays. And when he goes shopping with his fiance and future mother-in-law, and they're looking at
Rachel
chairs.
McAdams.
Yeah, they're looking at chairs and like $1,500 a chair, and he's like, "What?" But they're like nothing because you keep working, you keep making money, you keep buying things, and it has nothing to do with his passion or his art.
He just can't find. He's not happy.
Yeah.
He can't seem to find his happiness. And the artists that he's fortunate enough to meet on these midnight rendezvous are sort of like they all have their own idea of what was inspiring to them, or how there's Hemingway's version of it, there's Dali's version of it, there's Gauguin's, and then Gertrude Stein tries to, she explained, well, they're having these problems in their lives here. Like she makes some comment about them going they haven't returned from their mountain climbing expedition, and somebody has divorced this person, and there's all these problems. So nothing's perfect.
Right.
They seem to live these great artists, or who became great artists, seem to live these incredible lives, but they're also filled with problems. Anyway.
Yeah, but they're also very passionate about their art, and he meets them at a time when they're all young artists. They haven't become Hemingway.
And the conversations are great. The one that he has between Louis Buñuel and between Wilson and Buñuel about how all the characters can't leave the kitchen.
Yeah,
terrific.
Make a movie. An idea for a movie, which ended up being The Street Charm of the Bourgeoisie when it eventually comes out. Again, as far as all these ideas, and it is a very smart movie, but it's also very, I think, accessible to people. Because even if you're not familiar if you don't get the Buñuel joke, there's still, I think, a sweetness to this movie that anyone can relate
and
to.
I think that's what was lacking in Whatever Works and You Will Meet a Tall, Dark Stranger. There's something about this movie that is, there's a certain happiness about it, a sweetness, something that makes you feel inspired to, have intellectual pursuits and be entertained by it, which was lacking in Scoop and Cassandra's Dream and got anything else. What some I guess would say would be Woody's late dark period.
And it's also there's that joy about art creation that Owen Wilson has that Michael Sheen's character doesn't. Michael Sheen's character is very cold and analytical, and thinks he knows it all about art without creating anything.
This has the same sort of vibe or just general contentedness that Manhattan has, or like you're just happy to be in New York.
Yeah.
He's just happy to be in Paris.
Well, the only the movie starts odd because there's this.
It opens like Manhattan, except there's
shots of Paris, shots of Paris, shots of Paris, but it almost goes on too long. It's like shots of Paris, shots of Paris.
Yeah,
I
loved it though.
Yeah, because it's Paris. I mean, it's all, and he Woody Allen, he's been doing this long enough. He knows what looks great on film. He knows how to film a city like few other directors do. So I had a blast. And this is one I would see again in a heartbeat.
Yes, I was considering seeing it again yesterday. Hell, I may even go see it again tonight. Right across the street from the Coolidge Corner Theater, where it is opening. Well, it just opened Friday.
Yeah.
So it's playing at the Coolidge and the Kendall. And I think it's playing over in Waltham, too. I don't have it listed here, but the Embassy. It's playing over at the Embassy too. So Sean's going to be playing that film.
Yeah.
Sean Burns. He filled in for John on our last episode.
He tried.
John, you should listen to the beginning of the episode. Did you hear that?
No.
The intro. Listen to the intro on the other episode today.
Cool.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Picks of the week.
Picks of the week. I was tempted to ask you about Kung Fu Panda 2.
I loved it.
But the thing is like I didn't see it. I didn't like the first film. I thought it was edited for kids with attention deficit disorder. It was just crazy and maniacal. Didn't dig it. But John saw it.
Yeah, I loved it. So let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Let's just do that. Picks of the week.
You came armed. All right. This is a DVD. Actually, I watched the Blu-ray called Red Rise Roar, It's a concert film with David Byrne. He did an album with Brian Eno, and so this is a tour he did after that. And the Talking Heads did Stop Making Sense, which is one of my favorite concert films of all time. Jonathan Demme directed. This is the same. It's the same and it's not. I mean, Byrne's a very visual guy, but the thing he did on this tour was he asked 4 or 5 different choreographers to come up with dance routines to go with the song. So there are 3 dancers that perform during the show. And it's almost, you know, like you usually watch a concert film and then you see the extras, the DVD extras tell you about the making of. This is a combination. So there'll be a song, and then there'll be black and white footage of them rehearsing it, and interviews with the choreographer, what they're trying to do, and David Byrne telling them why they do this. And then another song, and then, this is how I recorded it with Brian Eno. You know, just the idea that Brian Eno would send him emails with music in it, and David Byrne would write the lyrics in this tiny little studio in his apartment. Just fascinating stuff. It sounds great, looks great. I'm a huge Talking Heads fan, so I just had a blast.
I wasn't even aware of it.
Yeah, I don't. It comes out on
Ride, Rise, Roar.
Yep, Ride, Rise, Roar. I highly recommend it.
This is a new film.
Yep, comes out on Tuesday the 31st. Again, if you're a fan of Stop Making Sense, if you're a fan of the Talking Heads, because they do a lot of Talking Head songs, you're just a fan of David Byrne, again, it's just a lot of fun. And plus, again, it's that insight it gives you to everything they do. If you're just watching them sing and there would be people dancing around, it would be confusing, I think. But the fact that, you know, he tells you why he picked choreographers. These are people he liked who probably hadn't worked in pop music before. And he gave them songs like, okay, we're going to do Burning Down the House, choreographed dance to it. We're going to do Road to Nowhere, choreographed dance to it. And watching David Byrne, it's funny, watching him in rehearsal, you know, because everyone dances. It's not just the 3 dancers. The background singers dance, the bass player dances, David Byrne dances, and they go through these rehearsal processes, and David Byrne's like asking the choreographer, any notes? Did I do okay? You know, and they're all just in the studio playing Burning Down the House and figuring out how they're going to move during the entire song. So not a lot of...
So it's an experiment.
Yeah. It's just fascinating, I thought. And again, I'm a huge fan, so I would highly recommend it.
Cool. I'm intrigued. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah.
One of the things that the studios have been doing, if they've been doing these... I wanted to say movies on demand, but what I mean is that, like, they're making films available just... Like, you can't get them off the shelf in the store. You order them online, and then they'll send you the actual DVD. So I don't know what you call that. It's like buying on demand or something like that. And so MGM has come out with a couple of huge lists from their catalog of films that they're making available this way. And the first one that we got to review a couple weeks ago was the John Lennon flick, semi-John Lennon flick, How I Won the War. Mm-hmm. And I think what I didn't know at the time was that this was a, order it online, and we'll send it to you type of situation. That's the reason why the disc itself is so sparse. Mm-hmm. It's because they're not burning it. They're not creating the disc until it's ordered. Right. So we kind of came down on
these
the
fact. These aren't Criterion collections.
Yeah, these are not. Yeah. But I remember kind of, condemning it for being so darn sparse. But so now we've got a ton of films that MGM has released for purchase online, and received a few of them this week for review. One of them was Jason Robards' 1965 film, 1,000 Clowns, which was, I thought, really, really good.
Yeah.
But I'll get into that. I also ordered Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, starring Marjor Gortner and Linda Carter, David Niven in Old Dracula, and then a Frank Langella musical, believe it or not, directed by Michael Pressman from the Bad News Bears Breaking Training and Ninja Turtles 2, with Jerry Stiller and Tom Hulse. So I haven't seen that yet. I did get to watch 1,000 Clowns last night, and I was really impressed with it.
Yeah.
This got a Best Picture nod in 1965, and Martin Balsam won a Best Supporting Actor nomination. And
who's the little kid?
oh God, what's his name? Barry Gordon.
Yeah.
Barry Gordon, who I think a lot of people would recognize from like late 60s, early 70s TV.
Yeah,
as like
Love
the
American Style and
precocious kid.
Yeah.
The new Dick Van Dyke Show. Really, really good here. It's it almost looks like some kind of a beat movie, you know?
Yeah,
but
gorgeous black and white, New York, 1965. You said?
Yeah. Yeah. He's like a ne'er-do-well.
Yeah,
Jason Robards.
He was a television writer.
Yeah, he writes for this kid show, Chuckles the Chimp or something like that, and Chuckles Potato Chips.
Gives it all up and decides he's just going to be a kind of a bum. You know?
Yeah, he walked out. And he's in a strange situation where he's living in a one-bedroom apartment in I don't know if it's like Brooklyn or somewhere in not Lower East Side. Maybe it is the Lower East Side because they had some pretty condemned buildings there. Yeah, so he's living in a one-bedroom apartment, and his sister's kid is living with him because one day she shows up, with her groceries, and she goes to run an errand to go buy some combs or something, and doesn't come back for another 6 years. Mm-hmm. So basically, he's raised Nick, his kid, for six years now, and now social services has been attuned to the situation, and they're going through an interview process where they're going to determine whether or not Nick's going to be able to, stay with them or not. And Barbara Harris is one of the social services.
Daniels?
Yeah, I don't know where I've seen him before,
Same
but he's
thing.
good.
It's been, he's one of those familiar character actors that you recognize from TV shows and
very familiar voice.
Yeah,
and he's been around for a while, and it's sort of staged like a play, and then I did some reading up on it afterwards, and it was based on a play.
Yeah,
but it's really it's pretentious in a way. It's strangely even. I just think it's just off the wall stupid that he would allow this kid to like choose his name, and then they go through all these long, extended, descriptive scenarios about this name and this name and this name, and the kid Nick has like a half dozen names that he's been using for the past 6 years, and when he turns 13, he's supposed to. They've just decided like he'll just choose his name.
Right.
But anyway, so they're just trying to determine whether Jason Robards can get his act together in a couple of days, get a job, clean his apartment, make it look like a really good environment for the kids, so when he goes before the review board, they'll allow him to keep Nick, and it ends up sort of being, well, I don't want to spoil it.
And at the same time, he strikes up a romance with one of the social workers, Barbara Harris.
Yeah.
And I remember her from, like you said, Family Plot and other movies, but she's young and she's very beautiful, and I just fell in love with her watching this. It was just great. And Jason Robards is that kind of actor. I don't know that much about. I haven't seen him in a lot of films. He's kind of a legend I don't know anything about.
Right. The film that I really knew Jason Robards from was Something Wicked This Way Comes, and I guess a few others. But this one, I specifically wanted to see it because of Jason Robards,
right,
and because it seemed to have this really neat sort of 60s aesthetic, not Flower Child, more like late 50s beatnik kind of thing, where he plays an eccentric, and it looked kind of cool. But I also was kind of like, you can really see the differences between, like, if there's an element about this movie that's a romantic comedy or romantic generally, it's different between then and now is that I was trying to recall a film wherein the leads fell in love with each other before they had sex. And here, and I guess I'd seen a couple of other films prior to this that kind of did that, where the woman just fell in love with the man, or they fell in love with each other just by being around each other, and had nothing to do with sex. And this is like, there's a moment in this film where Barbara Harris just seems to all of a sudden decide, oh, by the way, I'm in love with you.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't do that today without, it's like...
She spends the night. Don't they have sex? 1965, can't show it on the film.
I think you might be right. I could be wrong, but I thought that she had made the decision beforehand. It just seemed like a decision.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't seem like you do that in movies today. It seems like the idea, the revelation that people are the couple is in love with each other comes after the sex. But here it just seemed whatever.
And the same thing on buying movies on having buying on demand kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
I forgot to mention, I got Patty Hearst,
Yeah.
1988 movie by Paul Schrader with Natasha Richardson as Patty Hearst. Great film.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Patty Hearst, she's like this vague character in my mind. I remember kind of she was in the news, and now I know her more as a John Waters actress than for anything she did. But they do a whole thing about how she was kidnapped by these militants and brainwashed, if you want to take that angle, because it kind of presents both sides, whether she was brainwashed or just wanted to be part. She took part in a couple of bank robberies, a couple of murders.
I remember very distinctly the news reports when you were
It's Paul Schrader. It's shot really well, and Ving Rhames plays the leader of the...
when was this, 87, 88?
88. Ving Rhames, young, buff, angry Ving Rhames is the leader of the SLA, I think it is.
Yeah.
And William Forsythe, who I always enjoy, is in it. So I would and Frances Fisher was one of the young, angry militant women.
There's some good choices there.
Yeah.
There's some. If you look through the MGM catalog, you can. There's a couple of intriguing things that are worth checking out. But they're really sparse. Discs, like for 1,000 Clowns, all you get is the trailer. They don't even have like a chapter page.
No,
it
says play, and then
that's it.
If you hit the forward button, it skips 10 minutes forward into the movie. It's not even a scene break; it just skips 10 minutes.
Yeah,
forward.
but the quality isn't that bad.
No,
they're actually quite well transferred. There's a card at the beginning of each of the films that says this film was.
We did the best we could.
Yeah, we basically did the best we could to give you this presentation you're about to watch. Old Dracula. Did you watch?
You bet.
I picked up Old Dracula, did not watch it. Any impressions of old wrinkly Dracula?
Yeah.
Yikes.
David Niven is Dracula, and his wife is needs a transfusion of a special kind of blood to be reanimated. And he discovers that one of 4 Playboy bunnies who are doing a shoot about, a vampire-themed shoot for the magazine, he discovers one of them has the right blood, so he comes up with a plan to get samples of each one, finds the right one, gives his wife a transfusion, and guess what? The blood turns her black. So suddenly David Niven has to find who gave him that blood.
They are not kidding about this. It's David Niven and a harem of Playboy bunnies.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And Leslie, who's Teresa Graves, is the woman his wife becomes, and it's him going around trying to find. He has to get more of the blood to give her another transfusion to make her white again.
I'm going to go home and watch this.
You should. It was 1974, so it was probably topical and edgy back then. It's pretty hilarious.
This wasn't Hammer or anything like that.
No.
$5 American International.
Yeah, even
Grindhouse
better.
Fare.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And just, it's just funny. It's stupid, but it's funny.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Cool. So, hey, you can listen to all of our episodes online. We're at post-movie.net. And I must say, I was surprised at the number of people who listened to the Pirates episode. Up over 800 over the past couple days for that episode. So thank you. That's pretty cool to get a surprising number like that.
And comments too. We finally got comments.
And a couple of comments,
so
that weren't demeaning and crude and took away any sense of
I knew.
inspiration we had about doing this. It's inspiring to hear from people and get good news. That's awesome. And so hey, we're also on iTunes. You can download all of our shows there by subscribing, and also if you want to leave a comment there, that'd be awesome because it really helps lift the profile. And we're on Facebook, and it's always nice to be liked. Mm-hmm. And if you have any questions, definitely send us an email. We're at contact@post-movie.net. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everyone.